AskReddit by Kinko. What was ruined for everyone by one single person? I'm a contractor and I work in different kinds of plants and mills. In one mill I worked at, we had a gravy job, 2 hours of easy work, and get paid for 12 hours. Well, one guy decided he was going to charge them for 16, and now we get 2 hours for the job. We used to get an automatic 8-minute hours if you did any work on a Sunday. Until one foreman kept bringing in crews to finish up on Sundays for 30 minutes on site. My primary school used to do relatively frequent trips to local zoo, until one boy decided to vault the fence and punch a penguin. I wish I was joking. A fucking penguin? They're like harmless little bobbleheads. WTF. Eater, my 3-year brain forgot a lot about penguins that y'all have helped reignite. The elementary school I went to let 6th graders go on an overnight trip to lodge where we could go skiing and snow tubing. My dad volunteered as a parent and was supervising by letting me and 5 other girls pile on top of one tube down a steep hill and we all went flying. 2 of the girls busted their arms when we all landed in a pile. It looked like a cartoon. Anyway, after that no more sleepovers at the lodge until has it 30 years later everyone at the school still blames my dad lol. All thanks to Mr. Pilbasian. Not having to take your shoes off before boarding a plane. Fuck you, Richard Reed. I didn't know his name until today and all I could imagine when I read it was Dr. Doom shouting "Curse you Reed Richards." Deleted. Working in the grocery store during Christmas killed my tolerance of Christmas music permanently. The person who apparently choked on a lollipop at my bank and now we don't get lollipops anymore. Honestly, we could blame their insurance company. Other firefighters constantly ruin any sort of appreciation restaurants give out. We had a BBQ restaurant that would give a flat $10 off your meal. If you didn't spend $10 it was basically free. One guy ruined it on an $8 order by demanded the $2 be given to him as well. Had people going in uniform on days they didn't work. Had one guy have a family reunion at a local restaurant then made a big issue they wouldn't give his entire party the discount. I don't understand how out of touch people can be. Dude did this at our M service too. Not only did we lose the free on-shift coffees they'd been giving us, but our boss put in a policy that we couldn't go out in uniform at all unless on a call, which basically meant no leaving the station at all during shift or standby. They later turned the second one around since it was stupid but we still hate that guy. Back around the mid-2000s I was around 10 years old and I used to go to this place after school called the Boys and Girls Club. They had an area with multiple basketball hoops on a court which we used to play all kinds of games in, one of those games being dodgeball. These were not those big rubber balls but instead the styrofoam filled balls with kind of a thin layer of plastic so otherwise harmless. One of the kids thought it would be a good idea to shove a rock into one of the balls and throw it at someone he didn't like. Well, he ended up throwing it right into that kid's face and broke 2 of his front teeth. We never played dodgeball again. That's some prison yard shit. Previous job I had used to be hybrid twice a week. One person, on their hybrid day, decided to slack off work and go out. They got a call from their manager because they were late for a virtual meeting and the manager heard a lot of background noise like they were at the mall or something. Said person eventually admitted they were not home working, got fired, and now everyone had to be in the office 5 days a week. Here I am sitting in my office moving my mouse every couple minutes while using Reddit on my phone as living proof that you can also slack off when at the office. The guy who killed the most isolated tree on earth. Same with that woman who burned down the oldest tree. Imagine the history the trees live through. The guy who killed the most isolated tree on earth by running into it with his Jeep. The one tree in hundreds of square kilometers of desert. And he somehow hits it with his vehicle. The guy who attempted to smuggle a bomb in his shoe in 2001. Now we all have to suffer taking our shoes off at airport security every damn time we fly. Also, whoever did the thing with liquids that convinced security that more than 3.4 ounces of shampoo was potentially deadly can fuck right off. Had a job where as a dialysis nurse where we added a position to pick up add-ons and emergency cases that came in later in the day. In this role we worked noon to midnight, which helped us cut down from needing a nurse on call every night to maybe once or twice a week. Whoever took this role didn't have to take call and had weekends off. We loved rotating through this role and enjoyed taking a break from having to be on call and enjoyed having weekends off. Then there came the nurse who went out at 7 AM instead of noon and finished at 5 PM. When there was an add-on or an emergency case, she wouldn't answer her phone, which meant everyone had to go back to picking up extra patients and being on call again. She did this every time it was her turn to go through the rotation, so they eliminated the position and we went back to having to be on call all the time. That's a bar of soap in a sock moment. The name Adolf has gotta be up there. Not just the name, but that little mustache. At one of my previous workplaces, management played music as a way of promoting good mood. They played all sorts of genres so everyone got a chance to listen to something they liked. One person complained that sometimes they had to listen to music they didn't like, so they stopped playing music altogether. This happened at my workplace too. I drive school bus, and we used to be allowed to play music on the buses. Most drivers enjoyed finding out what channels the kids liked and getting sing-alongs going. Making everyone happier. Then some crazy Karen mom called the dispatch office screeching about her daughter coming home talking about a song this Karen apparently thought was evil or something, and now we aren't allowed to play anything on the radio while kids are on the bus. I worked at an office that had casual Fridays. One day a lady came to work on casual Friday in her gym clothes, and management was uptight and appalled by it. Instead of telling her that she couldn't wear gym clothes to work, they abolished casual Friday for everyone. It pisses me off to this day. I once had an art director who explained casual summer work attire perfectly. She said, "It's going to be hot this entire summer, so I'd like to free you all up to dress for warmer weather. But please, dress like you're going to a garden party with Martha Stewart. Don't wear something that'd embarrass her." This is going to be buried, but I have to share it in hopes someone sees this and laughs. I used to work for state government in Alaska. I was reviewing some department policies to update, and I noticed a particular statement in the employee behavioral policy about adhering to basic hygiene, expected, and wearing clothes at work, not expected. I went to my boss to ask him about that, and the look on his face told me I was in for a good story. Our department had satellite offices all over the state and in some very rural, very isolated areas. These were nothing but glorified shacks. Local fire brigade shows up to one of our shacks in middle of nowhere to find a department employee standing outside the burned building, in the nude. In February. Turned out that the guy, who was the only on-site employee, happened to be a nudist. Now, no one can work naked for the state of Alaska. What a bummer. So, he burned the shack to warm himself. The guy who ruined Halloween for everyone by poisoning and killing his own kid with a pixie stick. Now everyone thinks people just hand out poison candy because this started a mass panic. I couldn't even eat my candy corn growing up because they were loose unwrapped candy, as if anyone is tampering with candy corn. Seriously, my parents had such a hard rule against anything not hermetically sealed, and it was such a waste of good candy because of all the hype over sickness when it wasn't even a neighbor, but a parent who lied that ruined the whole thing for everybody. When I was a kid, my grandpa's neighbors owned a really popular local bakery. Every year for Halloween, they would make a bunch of maple bars to take home and hand out instead of candy. It was the best. Everyone loved it. No one would be able to do that today. Parents would throw a fit about unwrapped food and baked goods. That influencer who jumped into the alligator habitat at Busch Gardens. Now there's a big chain link fence and you can't see the alligators anymore. Why can't we just feed more influencers to the alligators? That one kid in the classroom that can't just leave their fucking phone alone. Now they're all in a box at the front of the class. One of the science teachers at the high school I went to had a bunch of animals around his classroom. All sorts of reptiles, bugs, and arachnids. If someone was caught texting in his class, he would put the phone in the tarantula enclosure. I owned tarantulas, harmless little guys. You were able to get your phone at the end of class, but you'd have to reach into the enclosure to get it. He always had old phones in there as decoration, so it was always on display. What will happen when you use your phone in his class? This same teacher took a year off from school after working there 20+ years and not taking vacation days. He got paid for most, if not all, of his time off since he racked up so many PTO days. He ended up writing his own science textbook with his time off. I personally did not have him as a teacher, but my friends did. That executive at HP who said, "You know, people love our printers. They are tough and reliable and work for decades. We should make them suck, break constantly, license the ink, make it all internet linked so the printer won't even work when the Wi-Fi is down." HP so shittily wrote a software update recently to prevent some models of printers from using generic ink that it bricked the E. Whoever decided to add YouTube kids on YouTube, now everything is demonetizable. On top of that, it doesn't even work, as YouTube Kids is filled with cartoons redubbed with creepy content and things kids shouldn't listen to anyways. In the 80s we had this game called British Bulldog. It was fun and a laugh for all involved. Then Barry had to clothesline a skinny kid and collapsed his windpipe, and all of a sudden Bulldog got banned and we couldn't choke each other out anymore. Thanks Barry. That makes it sound like Red Rover, which got banned at my elementary school because a kid broke their collarbone twice. The guy in Texas, I think, who ordered a huge meal for his last meal on death row and refused to eat it. They no longer offer a last meal request because of him. The interesting fact is that many death row inmates never touch their meals. I think it says far more about us than them that we have chosen to draw this line. Whoever made up the saying "the customer is always right"? Remember that stupid woman that held up a sign in front of the Tour de France riders? Tried to say hi to grandpa, took out 20 bike champions instead, SMH. I got one that's specific but it still sucks. So I'm a ride operator at a theme park, and one of the things that was popular to do was to go to the ride you work at and call other rides you want to skip the line for. We call them back doors. Everyone knew to keep it low key and to only do when you were a guest. Then one day some dude decides to backdoor himself to a ride on his break during a busy day. He shows up at the exit and the crew didn't want to let him on since their line was massive. Eventually they let him on and told him to never come back. He did it again the next day and supervision saw and heard everything. Now no ride operator can backdoor themselves even as guests. Everyone hates him, especially the ride operators at his ride, and he eventually stopped working at the park, but the damage was done. Every policy at every company I've ever worked at or owned was because of one person abusing something. So whenever you wonder why the hell do we have to do this, it's because of one asshole who ruined it for everyone else. We had to have cameras installed to monitor who comes in and out of the ladies' bathrooms and when because of one person who kept deliberately taking dumps on the floor next to a toilet and covering it in a pile of loose toilet paper. Edit, a word. Hitler ruined the swastika. Hitler, the world's most famous meth head. That stupid baseball player that took like 10 ephedra and died of a heart attack. My mom and I used to take one and clean the whole house. Why can't people be responsible with their drugs? Was working at GNC when this happened. We had cases of diet pills, Xenadrine, Hydroxycut, Trimspa, off-brand stuff etc. They passed the law in NY first and we had a ton of this stuff that just had to be thrown away. Needless to say, it got lost on the way to the dumpster. The toothbrush mustache. Michael Jordan tried. It didn't catch on. The religious fruitcake mother who said that Halloween was satanic, so that ended the kindergarten costume parade. The American bastard who said all cashiers must stand for their entire shift because that's good customer service. Because obviously when you've got a shitty worker that treats customers like crap, you blame the damn seat. Now get back out to the front of your register, Samantha. I don't care that you're recovering from foot surgery. If I gave you a chair, I'd have to give everyone a chair, and that's not good customer service. I live 2 minutes away from my previous job. There would be many days where I would finish my work in 4 hours and spend the second half of the day just sitting at my cubicle. My manager was aware of this. One day I asked him why I couldn't just go and work from home and head back if we had some work coming that he needed me for. There are people here that would complain, so we can't do that. A huge fuck you to people like that. Air travel was ruined by a handful of assholes 22 years ago. The Tylenol poisoner, I figure he's directly responsible for the ridiculous amount of overpackaging in OTC drugs, vitamins, etc. Plastic lid wrap, seal, cap, sealed bottle, cotton, all inside another box or shudder, clamshell package. What a jerk. I'm pretty sure the cotton is to keep the pills from shaking around and breaking, but the rest holds true. The guy who claimed vaccines caused autism has some serious blood on his hands. He wasn't even doing it because he actually believed it. Either it was literally a scam to discredit a specific vaccine so that he could sell a worse version that he would make money on. He's got a higher body count than most serial killers FFS. Airport security. I remember waiting for my mom to come off a plane at the gate. When I was younger, my parents arrived late to pick me up, so I ended up getting to shadow some airport workers for around 45 minutes. Wandered through the back and the break room a bit, had access to all of the paper tickets behind the stand. My parents may hate that memory, but I thought it was cool. I doubt many kids would get to be in a situation like that again, where a few airport workers who only kinda know policy but also have never encountered a real life version of why the policy even exists, so they wind up kind of winging it. My 3rd grade bully got mad because I didn't want to include her in my version of tag game. She went to the teacher and told on me, and then it had to be announced in front of the class that my game was officially banned. Fuck you and your big onion head, Raina. Lately, artists who are performing on stage are not having fun anymore. Why? Because one clown threw an object that actually hurt the artist, and suddenly it started happening over and over again, along with making more artists reluctant to perform or interact with the crowd. Edit. I guess I need to clarify. I mean throwing phones, ashes and other objects directly at the artist to hurt them, not harmless things that used to be thrown like panties and bras. Yeah, it's not been great for a while. Crowds can just get out of hand, and there is always some nut job that has to go too far. Mind you, I'd rather any of the aforementioned objects than being shot like Dimebag Darrell from Pantera in 2004. You can recover from a phone to the head, not so much a bullet. Mark Zuckerberg fucked up so many brains and relationships and other things, I'm not sure what to say. Oh yes, this definitely takes the cake. He let so much privacy get leaked. I have no words for how much I hate him and his apps. But I have numbers, 0-10. My high school debutante ball after party, 150 people were lined up to board the buses, and one of the popular guys kicked and shattered a bus door, so they promptly left and we were all told to go home. He wasn't very popular at all after that. Happy hour for discounted alcohol has been banned in Massachusetts, USA since 1984 after 2 girls died in an automobile accident following a happy hour session. Yeah, no, back when the drinking age was 18 instead of 21. Almost 40 years ago too. Osama bin Laden changed the way we travel as far as security is concerned. It's no fun feeling molested by Tsar. Maybe this isn't a single person's fault. But I feel like for those of us with chronic pain from major accidents, or syndromes or diseases, the people who abused opioid use has made it hard for everyone with legit problems. I broke my neck, hip, and 20 other bones in a car accident. My drugs are so tightly regulated that if there's a hang up of even 12 hours, I can run out of meds. And I'm not even taking heavy pain meds, just enough to work. I feel like I'm the lucky one vs stories I hear of cancer patients, people with longer term issues, or diseases. Between the pill mills and the pharmacies, those with real issues were fucked. Similarly, ADHD meds. Some of us desperately need them to function even remotely like a normal person, but assholes abuse the hell out of them. Now not only are there colossal pain in the ass for people with executive dysfunctions to get, but a lot of people throw a ton of judgment at you for it because they think you're just an addict too. A bad sanctuary in Mineral Wells, TX, run by Amanda Lola, that housed 100,000 Mexican free-tailed bats, thanks to an internet smear campaign and psycho behavior by Mary Cummins. They taught classes, did internships, which is where she came in, conducted observational research and grew the colony from 20,000 to 100,000. She destroyed it all. Who goes after an animal rehab for fun? What in the absolute hell? Fuck her. There was a department in my company where the employees got extra pay for mileage when using their personal cars on the job. One person went on vacation. When he returned to work and got his paycheck and didn't see the extra money in his check for the week he was on vacation, he made a big stink about it. His co-workers and the shop stewards were trying to tell him that if he was on vacation, he didn't use his car for work, so he wasn't entitled to the money. He was so thick-headed, he grabbed it, and after the union and management had a sit down to discuss the matter, the ruling came down that the department would no longer allow the employees to use their personal cars on the job and would no longer offer the extra money from now on. People like that should just get fired, SFO, essentially stealing instead of taking an entire policy away that benefits everyone. That time outside of the cage at UMass Amherst when there was a long line to get into the basketball game, and me and my friend tried to slickly cut with a friend who was closer up in line, but another friend saw us quietly moving and frantically ran to catch up to us, and this caused everyone to start running toward the front, and it turned into a near riot, with people trying to squeeze through the doors. Eventually everyone made it in okay, but it did make the evening news as a riot. So, thanks Jeff. Standard UMass moment. My friends traded Pokemon cards with a new kid in school. He was caught with a fat stack of my friend's cards in his pocket at lunch. He gave back the cards and ripped up his own cards. Teacher banned Pokemon for us for half of the school year. That one dumb kid fell in the gorilla ring clothes, and here we are. Deleted. Wu-Tang? The Cosby Show.